Okay, we dive into calculus by talking about something called a limit. So what exactly is a limit? A limit is the value that a function approaches as x gets closer and closer to a desired value. What do I mean by the value of a function though? All right, well, we've seen this f of x, but also consider that we're also talking about y. Okay, so think about it. As x gets closer and closer to some number, so let's say 3, as we get closer and closer to 3 on the number line or on a graph, okay, what is the corresponding y value that the function is getting close to? Okay, so the corresponding y value, all right, that's what we're looking for. A limit is going to be a y value, all right? So as x gets closer and closer to 3, suppose we pick numbers like 2.9, 2.999 or 99, or 3.01, 3.1. So as we move in closer and closer and hone in on the number 3, what is the y value that we're getting close to? All right, so this is the concept of limit. All right, now let's take a look at two graphs and see if we can figure this out. All right, so here they tell us use the graph to evaluate the limit as x approaches -1. So first thing I want to do is I want to notate where is -1 on the graph. So -1 is right here. All right, there's -1 for x. Now what we're going to do is we're going to trace, suppose, the left hand side in this color, and we're going to stop right there, and then I'm going to pick another color, and let's say I pick this teal looking color as I come in from this direction. Okay, now my question is, what y value am I approaching? Well, right in here. Okay, that's the y value I'm approaching. Now you see that it's got an open circle, so you might be saying, well, the limit right there, maybe there is no limit because it's got a hole in the graph, but actually that's not true. All right, what ends up happening in this case is that you're getting closer. As you get close to -1 on x, the y value is getting closer and closer to about 1, 2, 3 out of 4, 3/4. Okay, let me fix that. 3 out of 4. That's this value here. So notice we trailed this way. We trailed this way, meaning we're coming in towards -1 here and here. So in a nutshell, in order for the limit to exist, and maybe you're thinking of a really famous line from a movie right now, in order for a limit to exist, you have to examine the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the function. And in order for the limit to exist, you have to say the left-hand side must equal the right-hand side. So if I'm looking at the left-hand sided limit, now generally we will denote that like this, the limit as x approaches -1 from the left of the function. Okay, it is necessary for the limit as x approaches -1 from the right of the function. That's the requirement. Okay, they have to be equal. In other words, it has to approach 3/4 from the left here, and it has to approach 3/4 from the right here as you're coming in towards -1. Okay, so in this case, that is the case, and we have the limit of this function, and it is 3/4. All right, okay, let's take a look at one more example here. All right, let's take a look at this one. Here, they want the limit as x approaches 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to examine once more the left and the right side. All right, so let me pull out a highlighter. We're coming towards 0. So let's trace the function. Let's start right about here. Okay, so as I trace it right there, my limit looks like it's approaching limit as x approaches 0 of f of x. My limit is approaching the y value, which is -3. Okay, remember a limit. What y value are you approaching? Okay, Now let's trace the graph on the right side to the right of 0. So let's say we start right about here. Okay, what y value are we approaching? Okay, well, as we get closer and closer to 0 on the right, we are approaching, let me write that up here actually. As x approaches 0 from the right, and I need to put the left here, of f of x, it equals positive 3. So remember what we said, all right? The left-hand side has to equal the right-hand side. So what happens in this case? In this case, the left-hand side does not equal the right-hand side. Therefore, we say, in this case, the limit does not exist. So the limit would not exist in this case. And so that's what you might have heard in a movie at some time back, a very famous line, the limit does not exist. Probably one of the only things you might know about calculus at this point is a line from a movie. And so this is why the limit did not exist in that movie. The left-hand side did not equal the right-hand side. So it's a pretty simple concept. Just remember, keep in mind that a limit is what y value are we approaching as x gets close to some number. All right, so if this video was helpful, as always, remember, like and subscribe.